Here's a quick discussion about animating in Max since you guys haven't done it. I'm going to do it around the cat rig because it's a little bit different again, but let's just discuss how it works in Max compared to Maya. So if I make a sphere, for instance, there are the same sets of controls. Guess what? This whole timeline at the bottom all came from, guess what? 3ds Max when it's in Maya. Okay, it was designed at Disney in Max 3 by Paul Hunt's idea, and myself worked with Paul and worked with Autodesk to devise this plan with a little curve header at the bottom and everything. Okay, so uh, it's really the same thing, is what it boils down to. All the same features effectively exist. Now, Max, the way it animates is different. Max has an auto key by default. Maya acquired it as well, and Max also has set key like Maya does, but it acquired it from Maya. So everybody's sharing ideas effectively. So AutoKey tends to be kind of the better solution for the most part. I think you guys use that in Maya as well. The difference in Max, N, by the way, is the hotkey to turn it on and off. In Max, you're not sort of always in animation mode like you are in Maya. For instance, if I were to take this and use the set key feature, which is this key button here, which is K, by the way, instead of S, okay? S being snap, you don't want to change the hotkey there, it's K. So if I were to go in and say set a key and move this, move it to a different point and set a key, you'll notice we don't have animation. Okay, so we do have two keys, and if we look at the keys, they both sit in exactly the same place. And that's its new location. That's because we weren't in animation mode. Turn animation mode on when we do this, and we go back and do the same thing. We can take our sphere along at a keyframe, and we're in auto key, so I'm going to move it, and it's automatically going to set keys. It's going to set the first key, in this case, over at frame 0, unless we were to do something where we were to say set key and place keys on it at a given point in time. Um, and so there's our keys there, and then move along to another frame and set that key. You'll see the 0 frame isn't set. So if you set a key to begin with, you can get around having that 0 key being generated for you. Because effectively, when you create your first key, to have animation, you must have minimum of 2 keys, or else you really don't have animation, right? So the difference in Maya's and Max's animation is if I turn animate back off here again and move it and then move the timeline, you can see it doesn't jump back. What you'll notice is as I move it, all of the curves are updating all of the animation curves. So the advantage with this system is if I want to offset um, animation and move it somewhere else, all I have to do is turn off the animation mode. So turn off auto key or whatever with N on the keyboard, move the whole thing, and the animation still exists on it in place. It doesn't suddenly snap back to where it was. The disadvantage is you have to remember to turn animate on and off, and it doesn't snap back to where it was. So it entirely depends on what you're doing. There's lots of cases in Maya where I really wish it had this feature that was easy. You can do this in Maya. There are ways around this and ways to set this up, but you have to go and set it up, and you have to have the idea of doing it basically before you start animating anything. The disadvantages here is you often will forget to turn animation on and off in Max. So it's something you have to just get used to, something I'm certainly used to, and certainly a lot of companies out there are used to, is turning that animation mode on and off. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that. Let's go take a look at Cat now. So Cat is a fully ready character animation tool set. I'm just going to scale down these legs, actually make them a little bit easier to see. Um, and again, I'm just going to copy them over. There we go. So with those copied over now, We can then go about starting to animate in the character. So like I said, you turn on animate and you move something and you go, hey, Paul, no keys were generated and it wasn't set up to animate. You're absolutely right. It's because if we go over to the motion panel here where the circle is, you guys probably haven't been in this panel in Max because you've never animated in it. We have animation layers defaulted built in. So this custom rigging system is designed to be completely customizable. You can build any type of rig with it. It isn't just a biped. It isn't just this. It can be anything. It can be a centipede, as you guys found out in class or whatever else. But there is these animation layers, and so we need to choose the kind of layer we want. In this case, it's going to be an absolute layer. And then we have to take it out of setup mode and turn on animation mode, and it gives us all a bunch of tools. So if I turn on animate now and then go ahead and start to animate the rig, okay, we now indeed have animation on the character just like you normally would. A little bit different down here in Max. We have this time slider we select. Okay, nice and easy to pick. Forward frame, back of frame, that is greater than, less than signs, or hitting play is just the forward slash or question mark key, and it'll hit play on it. Okay, obviously the play tools are down here. If you want to do more setup, there's time configuration, and you can set up your time configuration however you like. And the keys to delete them, for instance, you don't have to right click or anything. You can just select them in here and just hit the delete key to be able to delete the keys out of the timeline. You also get this bar, okay, when you select them. So this is for being able to offset your keys or scale your keys no matter what you've got. So you can scale time right in here, make it real easy to work. If you do right click, you get a bunch of options to be able to delete them if you want, or delete selected keys or configuration, filter out what you don't want to see. I often only want to see the current transform, for instance. So if I've done animation on this character, you can see now, I haven't done animation, so you can see there's no keys that are showing up because I've filtered for the current transform. They're only green right now, but if I say filter for all keys, you'll see that the keys are red and green. Put them on top of one another, and you get this sort of look that shows up as multiple colors here. Okay, so they're green and red. RGB, XYZ, position, rotation, scale, UVW, right? Um, so we can then go about doing whatever we want. You want to get to the function curves, one of two ways. Click on this and go and get the function curves. It'll select and open whatever has currently been animated. That can be filtered out in here, so you can choose only visible tracks, only animated tracks, for instance. It'll hide everything else, show you only the animation tracks that are currently working. When you open it, it'll automatically select them. Okay. All tangent types, everything's the same. Zooming into selected keys or whatever, being able to zoom into them. The other one that's not the same is you can't select the tangents the same way. So if you want to move multiple tangents in Max, what you need to be able to do is you need to lock the tangents, and that's L on the keyboard. So if you want to lock them, you just hit L, and now you can grab those tangents and they're all locked together. Turn off L and you do one at a time. So with the selected keys. So that's a little bit of a difference in kind of how it's working with that. The default key type is right down here. So if you want linear to begin with, that would allow us to have those linear keys. So if I go and key this now, you'll see these keys are going to be coming up with no tangents. And again, your tangent types are here to be able to pick and choose what you want. You can draw tangents in all these tools. There's tons of them. Okay. Euler filters and all that kind of stuff is all involved here as well. You want different layers. You can add as many layers as you want, copy and paste things. You can also directly add mocap and all sorts, that is something that this cat rig will handle by default. You can even go in, add clips and load in clips if it'll affect them. Looks like this might complain and not give it to me. But yeah, you can load in animation clips and all sorts. I'd have to do some more setup to get it to work correctly. There's procedural walk cycles you can add, all sorts of fun stuff. Motion paths are here, by the way, too. So if you want to turn on motion paths for stuff, you'll see them. But you can right click, and if it's in here somewhere, I forget where it is now. I forget where most motion paths are. They're there somewhere in one of those keys. Boy, I haven't used them in a while, obviously. They're in one of those. I thought they were in here. Draw motion. Oh, there it is. There. Sorry, it is. Just right click motion paths. So you can turn on your motion paths if you really like to be able to see that kind of data. I often do. And if you have it selected in here, you can even go into sub object and you can move the motion paths around. If there's tangent types on these keys, you can manipulate the tangents as well on them and all sorts. So you can do all kinds of fun stuff. There you go, guys. Really quick, down and dirty description.